When you looked at the film, Vance,
Yeah.
obviously this isn't the way you would have wanted to start defensively. What are the priorities in terms of getting it right and fixing it going into Miami?
Well, I think, overall, it's not all bad football. Obviously, in our second week, it's going to be some ups and downs, from a schematic perspective. But I thought it was some good stuff in both games. Obviously, not winning the games kind of puts a light on all of it. But penalties, are huge right now. That's hurting us on defense. Keeping drives alive, and we're playing a lot of snaps because of penalties. So we got to coach our way out of penalties. I'll do a better job of coaching the penalties and getting those things right. Even the first game against the Raiders, every drive that they scored, it was a penalty involved. Last week, from the second quarter on, every score they had was a third down conversion on a penalty, or a screen. So those things are correctable. So I'm not worried about that. There's enough good football on tape that I can see it. It's week 2. It's a long way to go. So I'm not discouraged at all.
When you say coach penalties out, how does that happen?
You have to coach clean. These third down penalties are from holding or PIs, and you got to coach cleaner. And I don't care how they look or if they're are so calls. That's not my concern. If they're called, we have to fix it. And that's my thing to the players. I don't care how close they are or what they call in other places. If they're called, we have to fix it. And that's playing clean. That's playing in great leverage. That's film study. That's everything. So we can get those penalties. Again, last week, every score they had after 21-3, it was a penalty in every scoring drive, either on third down or second and 15, right? So, and again, we got to clean it up.
They caught you on 3 screens, I think, in the last game.
They caught us on, 3 screens, maybe, I think 3.
And then
Two big ones.
was that because they caught you bringing a lot of people, or because people didn't react on the back end?
I think the first screen we got was a big play that led to a scoring drive. It was man coverage, right? And they had a good play called, missed a couple of tackles. But the second one they called, I was in the pressure. And the call after watching it was not a very good call on my part. But screens happen, and you can't wait for screens. You have to react to them, and sometimes the call helps, sometimes the call hurts. But in those second half in the 2 scoring drives, it was a 24-yard screen and a 36-yard screen that hurt us. Absolutely.
You're playing Nick Benito a lot of snaps, obviously. Mm-hmm. Where is he right now in his progression to becoming a complete player?
He's on his way. Obviously we have 3 or 4 guys in that room who are going to play reps there. So whoever starts. But he is definitely on his way, especially in the running game. He had some plays last week that he set on a good edge and made plays on the edge. But his rushing ability is obviously it's apparent. He can rush the passer. So the more he plays, the better he's going to get in all aspects of the game. So he's on his way.
How interesting of a subplot is it this game? You got 2 recent Broncos head coaches leading respective defenses in this game. Vic being the other guy.
That'll be fun. Vic's a hell of a coach. Obviously, I've watched him over the years, and I've talked ball with Vic a lot over the years. But he's a hell of a coach, and he'll have a good plan, I'm sure.
And they got Eric, their associate. It's like a Broncos head coaching reunion,
absolutely,
or what?
Absolutely. So it should be fun. Obviously, our concern is going to get a win. They've won 2 games. So it's our turn to get a win. So that's our concern this week.
Do we expect too much from this defense? Do you feel like this defense has the personnel and the scheme to be elite?
I think we can be a very good defense, and you don't judge that until after the season, obviously. But we have good enough players to be a good defense, absolutely. And I expect that, guys. Coming here, my vision was to be a dominant defense, and that hadn't changed. And I'm telling you, on tape in the first 2 games, you can see it happening. The penalties, the misfits here and there. I'll coach better, but we should be a very good defense, and that's the expectation. It shouldn't be any less than that.
What do you see from Mike McDaniel? He's only been calling plays. It's just year 2, but he's got Tyreek, Waddle, and Tua healthy, and Mostert. Like it's a track team.
It's a good offense, and obviously it's based on on what Kyle has done over the years in the running game, and he was a big part of that coaching staff as far as the running game. So he's doing a great job with that offense. They have a lot of speed. You said it. It's a track team. At receiver, you've got 2 guys who are sub 4.3. You got running back guys who are sub 4.3. So it's a lot of speed out there, and he's using them right, man. It's a Chinese fire drill on tape. You know, so
What-
it's fun. It's fun to watch, and it's going to be a challenge to get those guys stopped.
what's the challenge if you don't have Justin Simmons available, and what are your thoughts on your depth at safety?
If you have Justin, it's still hard to get him stopped. You know, so you know our plan won't change much. We have guys that we've handpicked to be on this team who's going to play for us, and I have no issues with those guys. Even last week in the game, when those kids were in the game, I was fine. I wasn't nervous because I've watched them play out here in the field, and they work hard. They're smart guys, so I have no concerns about our safety depth. But you know, obviously with the scheme, having a scheme to minimize their speed and use the field against them a little bit, that's the plan. But it's so much speed everywhere. You know, open field tackling is going to be huge for us because if it's one-on-one and they make one guy miss, it can be a 30-40 yard gain. So being great tacklers, you know, keeping the big plays off of us and winning third downs and trying to play penalty free as best we can. You know, so that's the challenge this week.
What did you see from?
third downs, the physical aspect of having the drive keep going?
Yeah.
Mentally, how do you make sure guys kind of stay locked in after saying, "Oh, we thought we had him off"?
It's tough. It's tough because third downs, man, you spend half your week on third downs and red zone in 2 minutes. I mean, that's the game, right? First, second down is your spring install, it's training camp. But third downs, that's where your time is spent during the week. So when you don't win those, not because of the scheme or not making a play of a call, of a holding call or a face mask, it's demoralizing. You know, so you have to reboot and go do it again. But it adds plays to your total. You know, and it also adds points. It's the NFL, right? If you give an offense, 3 more chances in the drive, they're going to make at least a field goal. You know, so we have to do a better job of winning third downs cleanly. Last week they were 3 for 11, outside of the penalties, right? So we're on our way, guys. And again, I'm not discouraged at all. It's week 2. It's enough good football on tape both weeks, to say that we're going to be a good defense. But you have to win games. That's what it comes down to.
How do you improve tackling when you can't practice tackling?
Tackling, Mike, has always been effort, running to the ball, and just will. And everyone missed tackles in this league. Are you hustling if your teammate missed a tackle to make the tackle? So that won't change weekly. You're going to miss tackles, but having enough hats to the ball to make up for the missed tackle is key.
I know.
Thank you, Coach.